Hey, everybody, welcome back to Build Better. I'm Matt, and today we have a very special show for you. I'm not sure that my guest here actually knows this, but this is interview show number one for this podcast. So, super geeked about bringing my buddy on, and we're going to have a great conversation. So, without further ado, let me introduce to you my friend Dimitri Sidiropolous. Dimitri is vice president and visionary of Delphi, a heavy mechanical public work contractor doing wastewater, infrastructure, institutional, and civil work in New York City. I'm sure we are going to spend a lot of time talking about the intricacies of working in such a large downtown metropolis. Dimitri spends his time in the tension between field operations, estimating, cash flow, leadership, all while trying to build a company that performs as well in the books as it does in the trenches. With a huge significance in accountability, clean numbers, and developing leaders who understand that every job is responsible to its own P&L. Most of his lessons have come from mistakes. Sounds about like myself. Tight margins, figuring out how everything goes in real time. He is still in it every single day. We're not talking theory today. He's going to share what's working and what's inside a growing trade business. Most importantly, outside of work, Dimitri's a husband and a father first. His faith shapes how he thinks about responsibility and leadership. Fitness is definitely part of his routine, not for the optics, but to build the discipline and capacity to carry more at work and carry more at home. And with that, Dimitri, brother, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for letting me be your guinea pig for this first interview.
Guinea pig you are, guinea pig you are. So we'll see how this works out, but it should go pretty good as long as the power doesn't go out on us. So, Dimitri, let's jump right in, man. Why don't you tell us a little bit more in detail about yourself? How'd you get to where you're at, and kind of give a brief overview of Delphi and what you're doing today.
So I came up in the industry. My father founded Delphi in 1980. I've been working here in some sort of capacity since I was six, whether hanging out with my dad, looking at drawings, marking up drawings, shredded papers. And I was in the warehouse, working in the warehouse, sorting fittings. Did my apprenticeship in the union, turned out, was a journeyman, became a foreman, got back into the office doing project management, estimating. Now I'm vice president of the company. And we do mainly public work contracts for City of New York. We have done with New York State and federal agencies. Our primary markets are wastewater, industrial, civil, and institutional. And we are a union shop and are growing every day.
Good stuff, man. And I want to get into the kind of the intricacies of working in New York City in a second, but let's stick on you for a second here. So you started in the shop at 6 years old. That's awesome. At what age were you when you started your first apprenticeship? And was that with Delphi, or was that through? I'm not a union guy, so bear with me if I'm using the wrong terms here. But why don't you tell me how you got your actual formal training and where that was at?
So I got my formal training through Plumbers Local 1, New York City.
Okay.
Delphi is a signatory to that local. So as a signatory, we can hire apprentices out of the union, out of the school, right? Same with hiring journeymen and foremen and any trade labor that we need. We are signed with multiple unions, not just Local 1. I did my apprenticeship while I'm going to use air quotes going to college. And I think I was 21 to 25, 26, finished up college and the apprenticeship at the same time and went into the trades.
Wow. So you're a busy guy in your early to mid 20s.
Yeah, you could say that.
Not a whole lot of room for much else, I imagine. Well, good stuff, man. So your father started in 1980. What was your dad's background? Was he involved in? I'm assuming he was involved in the plumbing trades to some degree before he started it, or was this his first go at it?
So this was his first go at it. He was previously he was working on the container ships in Greece. When he came over, he also got into the apprenticeship with Local 2 at the time in New York City. And he did his apprenticeship, turned out, kind of did the same route, and then decided to go out on his own and start Delphi.
Oh, that's awesome. So he's absolutely kind of blazed his own trail.
Yes, 100%. I'm trying to ride the coattails.
Well, from everything I know and see, you're doing a good job, man. But that's an awesome
Thank you.
story. That's a lot of weight on your shoulders too to hold up.
It is. And I like to say he did the really hard part, right? Starting from scratch and growing and getting out of the shit and actually forming a company. And I'll always be grateful for that, right? I also will never have that experience. So my hard part now is taking what we built and going to the next level.
You got to make sure you don't muck it all up in the meantime.
Yeah, well, that's the idea.
So is your father still involved? Is he president? Is that
He is president.
okay?
He's still involved for a few days a week.
Okay.
He's semi-retired, we'll say, but he'll never be retired. He'll never not come into the office.
Yeah.
That's who he is.
That's
This is a part of him.
that's kind of the entrepreneur's curse, isn't it? Like retirement really isn't a thing. We've talked a lot about what that looks like in my household and at my company, and everyone's like, "Well, what's your when are you going to hang it all up?" So I'm not. I don't think I'll
Right.
ever hang it. I'm not going to do the same shit I'm doing today in another 10 years, but I'll be involved in some fashion and in some way. Like the industry has a way of getting its hooks in you and not wanting to let go.
Yeah, I mean, a beach is a beach is a beach.
That's right.
After 2 days on a beach, I need to go do something.
That's right.
Um, there's always a problem to solve and a challenge to go overcome.
Yep. So let's dig into that. So Dad's still around. He's president, but it sounds like, with all due respect, you're pretty much running the show on the day to day at least. What are your biggest leadership challenges, and how many folks are you leading? How does your team look? And then let's get into kind of what the nuts and bolts of leadership looks like for you.
So inside in the office, we have uh, 21 in the office. Outside, we have anywhere from 30 to 50 tradesmen. The structure that we have set up now is, yes, I'm running day to day. It's me, our general manager, and then we have three divisions: finance, estimating, and operations. So we meet as a leadership team, and through the leadership team, we cascade messages down to the rest of the organization. Uh, we set the pace, we set the goals, we set them up to run with us alongside of us so that we can all cross the finish line together.
Right on. So you got a decent leadership team that kind of helps take some of the burden off of you. It sounds like,
Yes, yes, thank God.
which is yeah, it is crucial. I have the same. I boy, it hasn't been long, maybe 3 years that I've actually had a high functioning team kind of at my side that fights the battles with me, and it makes such a difference because I didn't start Schaefer Construction. Obviously, it's not even my name, but for a long time after I bought it, I was it. I was the sales guy. I was the estimator. I was the project manager. I was the superintendent. I was the accountant. It was all me for years. And while that was fun and great, and I learned a lot, you can't build shit like that, and nothing that's going to leave a legacy. And once I finally started bringing kind of higher quality people on board and getting a room full, it really opened the doors up, and it really changed our trajectory immensely.
Yeah, and the only way to leave a legacy is to build something that functions without you.
I love that, and it is very true, man. That I still remember the first time I took a vacation. We actually did go to the beach, and I did the same thing you mentioned a few minutes ago, where I made it about 2 days, 2.5 days, and then I went stir crazy. But the first time I took a week off and didn't have my phone blowing up, and I thought somebody must have stolen the business from underneath me. Like something's wrong, right? Nobody's calling. When in reality, it just the team I built around me was able to handle it, and it was a very good wake up call for me.
Yeah, and it's not easy to build that team either, right? There's a lot of trial and error that goes through that, and a lot of trust that you have to give out. And I'm sure, like me, you've been burned before,
Oh yeah,
and you learn and keep moving on because that without that team, it's you and you. There's only so many hours in the day. You can't fit work and family and all in the same bucket, right? You gotta divvy it out.
without a doubt, man. And I ask entrepreneurs this all the time, and I would say 90% of them give me the same answer. So I'll ask you, what is the hardest part of being a business owner, of doing what you do? If you had to name one single facet of your business, what is the most difficult aspect?
Making sure you make the right decision. I mean, the weight of the decisions that you make affect, in my case, 50 to 70 families, right?
Yeah.
So you got to make mistakes, make them fast and learn. And so you don't make the same one again. And hopefully you're not making the same mistakes or any other mistakes as you keep going, because everything that you do is going to affect the people that are working with you. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's the hardest thing as a top man.
So I actually keep a list on my phone, and I look at it. I used to look at it every morning. Now it's more like a monthly thing. But of all the employees I have, and we're far smaller than you. We're a paper GC. But I keep track of all the employees I have, and then all of their family members that rely on them to put food on plates. And I call it my mouths to feed tally. And anytime we add people, get rid of people, that changes. But it's a lot to stomach, man. It kind of humbles you real fast when you look at that number. And again, yours is probably 3, 4 times the size of mine. But to know every day that you got X number of people and all these little kids relying essentially on you to make sure they're eating, that puts the gravity of the situation into a different perspective, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. And you also can't get stuck in not making a decision either, right? You got to go because the longer you wait to make the decision, it's probably going to be worse, the outcome.
Absolutely.
So it's a little dichotomy there of speed.
I have found so my wife and I were talking about this last night actually. Um, Decisions is all I do, right? At this point, at this level, people come to me with problems, they come to me with questions, they come to me with options, and my job is to make a decision very, very quickly, and hopefully it's the right one. So I'm pretty well attuned to doing that, and I do it all day long, all week long. But then there's shit that comes up at home. We're dealing with a personal thing right now that I can tell you off air about it, but I've been hemming and hawing on this thing for like 3 weeks. And she looked at me. She's like, what is going on? Like, I know how you operate at work. You make decisions like faster than you can pull the trigger of a gun. Why can't you just make a decision on X, Y, and Z here? And it's, I don't know if it's just once I hit the threshold of my house, I relax a little bit or what it is, but it's a different scenario for me.
So I got one better. I decided to build my own house.
Oh,
I'm not in residential construction. You know more about that than me. Um, you want to talk about not making decisions fast? I must have went back and forth on what type of in-wall insulation I was going to use for a month, right? So it's a different, I guess it's a different physical location, which changes the mindset, right? But
yeah.
um,
Are you currently building your house or you're living in it?
no, no,
Okay.
I'm living in it now, thank God. And I probably won't ever do that again,
I've
unless I have all the time in the world.
I have never built a house for myself. I've built lots of houses back in my day, but lots of people I talk to have a similar sentiment to what you just said. Um, so let's transform a little bit or shift a little bit into kind of your lifestyle. So we're both entrepreneurs. So Dimitri and I met in a kind of mastermind networking group called the Arate Syndicate. We've known each other for, I don't know, man, like 4 years now, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a group of high level entrepreneurs. So even without knowing Dimitri's extensive background, he's kind of been vetted by the time that I even got to say hello to him for the first time. So I know he's a high level dude. I know he's a hard charging entrepreneur, but let's talk about that because the lifestyle's tough. Being an entrepreneur, period, is hard. It's difficult. It's stressful. It's chaotic. Add to that being an entrepreneur in the construction space, and there's a lot of people out there who called what you and I do insanity. So, how do you take care of yourself? How do you take care of Dimitri? And I mean both body and mind. What do you do to keep yourself sane? What do you do to keep yourself from rotting away in the chaos of being under pressure for bids and being under pressure for payroll and all the stuff that comes along with it?
So I got a sign in my gym and it says, not everybody's willing to kill what they eat, right? And that's what we do for a living. We kill what we eat as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And in order to be the best killer out there, you got to be the best hunter, you be in the best shape, keep your mind the sharpest so you can see through everything, see through bullshit. What really helps with that is fitness, the discipline of fitness, right? In and out, a day in, day out, keep doing the same thing. Family is before fitness, of course, and then faith for me, just tying everything together at the end the end of the start of the week, going to church, that really sets the mindset right.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, man. Let's stick on the fitness part for a minute. So where do you work out? Do you go to a gym? Do you work out at your house? What's your preference?
One of the things I got out of that house that I built was my own gym. Right, I got that, and I got a garage. Everything else was my wife's idea. So I work out in the morning before I come into work. Wake up, work out, go to work, and then now I'm in the middle of 75 hard, and I work out at night as well.
We're at in 75 hard are you? I didn't realize you were doing it.
I don't know, day 50 something. It's all
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
blended together now.
I think I'm on day 54, 54 or 55. But for anyone who doesn't know what 75 hard is yet, I suggest you go check it out. Google it. It's worth your time. But back to your gym. So I asked because I'm the same way, man. I procrastinate like crazy when it has to do with anything personal, right? I already said I can make the decisions on work and business real fast, but when it comes to personal, I'm a terrible procrastinator. I always listen to the wrong voice in my head. And so I did the same thing. I built a gym in my basement because if I have to rely on myself to actually get my ass up, get in the truck, drive to a facility, work out, it'll never happen. I'll find some reason where it doesn't work and it'll never happen. So I do the same thing. I get up at the absolute crack of dawn, go straight to my basement gym, work out in relative peace and quiet. And that's what keeps me sane. That's how I start every single day. When I don't do it, I can feel myself falling off and nothing works. Nothing's right. My head's all crazy. So it's a huge part, I think, of what we do. And whether or not it's working out for you, the listener, or it's something else, you have to find that release that keeps you centered. So to that end, you mentioned family quite a few times here. I know you're a father. I don't know that I've ever asked you how many kids you have.
I have three. The oldest is 7, and the youngest is 2.
Okay. All right.
Two
Boys,
boys and
girls,
a girl.
two boys and a
Oldest
girls.
and, yep, oldest and youngest are boys, and middle one's a girl.
Nice. I have 3 boys myself. They're older, 12, 16, and almost 19. Do you bring your kids into the gym with you ever? They're pretty young, I guess, but do they
Yes.
do they like to
So
work out?
my older one's getting a little lazy, so I'm trying to get him back into the swing of things. My girl, she's big in gymnastics, so she swings on the bar. So I just upgraded and got this whole rogue set up, and I made sure to get a adjustable pull-up bar. so they can
Nice.
use it.
Nice.
So she swings on that. She's doing pull-ups. She's walking on the treadmill, and she likes hanging out in the gym with me.
Very cool.
Yeah. Going back to what you said about, the gym in the house, time and efficiency is also a big reason for having the gym in the house, right? So if you spend a half hour driving back and forth, that's a half hour you could have been doing something else. And for me, I don't have that half hour.
Yep.
So even the night before, laying out your clothes and getting everything ready so that boom, 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 and you're off to go make money, right?
Yep. Same. It's the same argument that I make about why I want to buy a private jet. I'm not there yet, not really even close, but someday that'll be there. And it's the same thing, man. Time is our most valuable commodity, and it's the only thing we can't ever get back. So anything you can do to save it, even if it's scrapping together a few minutes here and a few minutes there, it adds up over time. Time adds up over time, and I want as much as I can have.
Yeah. That's why I, I never understand the argument against the CEO of billion-dollar corporations not having a private jet. Right? They make $1 million a year. How much is their time worth? I
Yeah,
think the private jet's worth it.
yeah, yeah. Have you read the book "Buy Back Your Time" by Dan Martell?
Yes,
That's
good book.
is a great book. It's one of my favorites, and he talks very heavily about figuring out what your rate is, right? What your hourly rate is, what your per minute rate is. He even goes down to the per second, I believe. And it's pretty interesting when you start doing that. It's a book basically about justifying why you should have an assistant at the end of the day is the main premise. But the whole idea is if you make whatever dollars an hour, if you can hire somebody for a quarter of that to do a big chunk of tasks to take those off your plates, you're a damn fool to not do it. And the sole reason is because you get back all of that time then that you can do with whatever you need to do. Right? Higher value activities, time with family, whatever it is that you need to do to stay sane or to keep the ship afloat, you should be doing. So staying with that kind of thread, with so much of what we do is being stressful and chaos, being a family man like I am, how do you keep that stress and chaos out of your house? The stress and chaos of the business, that is.
Yeah, good to clarify that. Um, so you got to take the work hat off and put the father husband hat on, right? When you walk to the door. I don't like bringing work home. I learned that from my dad. Like, you never talk about work at home. When you're home, you're home. When you're at work, you work at work. I mean, I'm probably a completely different person in both spaces, right? One, I'm with my young kids. I don't speak the same way I do here. Here, I speak like a construction worker, right? I'm holding it back now because we're recording. But you have to be present in whatever situation you're in at the time, right? So if you're at work, you need to be present at work and focus on what needs to get done there. When you're at home, you need to be present at home with different people, act accordingly with those people, and focus there.
Yeah, man, and I'm glad you answered like that, and I knew you would because, frankly, you've been one of my inspirations over the last few years to actually build that sort of mindset. This, admittedly, has been a very hard thing for me to do. I started in business at a very young age, and I never learned to keep the shit where the shit belongs. And for many, many, many years, everything that was in my head at work was the same thing in my head at home, and it all just kind of intermingled. And it wasn't all bad, right? My wife is, my partner in the business. She knows almost everything going on, so there is a lot to talk about. But when you talk about kids growing up, and when mine were younger, we wouldn't get into it hot and heavy in front of the kids necessarily, but they're around. They sense it. They know what's going on. And if I come home pissed off about, you name it, right? Some stupid meeting, some dumb decision, whatever employee nonsense you got to deal with, the kids feel it, and it changes the trajectory of family life pretty quickly and pretty drastically. So it's actually been something I've been working on over the last 4 or 5 years, and knowing you like I do, I kind of knew that this is how you approach things, and it's been a good model for me to follow. And I also see it in your social media when you're, posting stuff with your kids, and you make it very distinctive and very clear. Like, I get shit done when I'm at work, but when I'm at home, it's Dimitri, husband slash father, and there's not a whole lot of mixing, and I think that's pretty neat. I don't think that many people do that, not enough, anyways.
I appreciate that. One of the things that helps me, because I obviously, because like you're not going to shut the switch off 100%, right? Your brain's going to light up and you're going to remember something at work and it might piss you off or you might want to deal with it right away, right? So I keep a list in my phone. So when that happens, boom, boom, put it in my phone and now it's out. It's out of my head, right? I can deal with it when I go deal with work. And that has helped me a lot. And the other tick that I have is once I write something down, I have to do it. So Monday morning, that run down the list and get it done.
Yeah, that's a great idea. um, let's stay on leadership because I think it's a good topic for the show, and being that you and I are both in relatively similar roles in the industry, although separate, very different trades, I think it's appropriate. If you can give a tip to any of the young bucks listening, what would your biggest leadership tip be? What would your biggest tip, and how do you start and build a career in this crazy and sometimes ridiculous space of construction that we both live in?
So I'll tie that into a personal story. Um, Apprentices usually go get the coffee, right? Is it the low man on the totem pole?
Yeah.
When I was an apprentice, they made me go get the coffee, and I was not okay with that, right? I wanted to be the guy working and staying, not jumping in the car, going outside, getting coffee. So I went to my dad and I said, "Hey, they keep making me go get coffee." I said, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" Well, tell them to stop making me go get coffee. I said, "Okay, I can do that, but you're never gonna live that down for the rest of your life, right?" Um, the worst guy in the job goes to get the coffee. So don't be the worst guy in the job. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. And from there, that mindset, right? You have to you have to want to be better every day. You have to want to learn, right? And especially if you're a young guy and you're coming in as an apprentice, the old journeyman, the old foreman, he's going to be rough. He's not really going to want to deal with you because of whatever happened right before he walked on the job and whatever he has to do for the next 8 hours, right? Um, but be persistent, show that you're there to help him do his job, right? And show that you're part of that team. You want to be part of that team. And yeah, you gotta take your lumps. You gotta go get coffee, but eventually you're not gonna be the guy getting coffee anymore. Eventually you're gonna be the guy running the guy getting coffee, right? So be be moldable, be open, and be willing to put in the work.
I think that's great advice, and being willing to do the work no matter what is really the key there, right? There's a lot of, I'll call it kids, a lot of youth these days that, for whatever reason, upbringing, society, schooling, you could take your pick, but the quote unquote doing the work is a problem for them. It's they have this sense of entitlement where they shouldn't be the guy getting the coffee. They shouldn't be the guy cleaning out the foundation trenches. They, whether they went to school or whatever the hell they've done, like they already place themselves on this pedestal above where they really should be. And it's funny to see, but it's also kind of scary at the same hand. So, kind of with the namesake of the podcast, we have the Build Better Foundation, and we put that together to help kind of do our part in boosting interest in careers in the construction space. And just by virtue of what it is, most of the people we help through our scholarship programs are kids to me, right? They're either late high school, early mid college level. But through that, like I get to talk to a lot of people that aren't related to me, a lot of kids that aren't related to me, and it's amazing the conversations you have when they always ask, well, how do we get started? What are we going to do a day in the life of somebody at Schaefer Construction or a day in the life of Delphi? And you tell them, yeah, you tell them you're on. It's like, well, you're gonna clean up job sites. You're gonna pick up trash and put it in the bucket of the skid steer so somebody else can go put it in the dumpster. And they're like, well, that's bullshit. I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm cut out to do. And your father actually said it right. Like, you don't want to do that for very long. The people that do that for forever are not the people who are long for this industry anyways. They're not the folks that you want on your team. They're the ones that just gave up, right? Or they don't have anything else going for them. So you got to be willing to eat shit, to clean shit. And the longer or the faster you realize that, and the better you do it and the more effort you put into it, the faster you're going to be out of that. And you'll either be the guy in the skid steer, whatever the situation may be. And it's just, it's a different reality, I think, than at least when I grew up. You're significantly younger than I am, I think, but obviously you've got the work ethic built into you from everything you've come up with. So it's just interesting to see, man.
Andy Frisella says the minimum requirement is working hard, right?
That's right. That's right.
So whether that's clean the trench or moving pipe or whatever, if that old guy who's going to teach you everything that you need to know asks you to do something, you say, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Go do it. No matter what it is, because he's done it before. And if you're not willing to do it, he's not going to teach you what he knows.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because that's the key, man. That is the whole key. You say yes, sir, and you do it, and then you soak up as much knowledge out of that man or that woman as you possibly can, because that's the beauty of the construction space, right? Is you get these men and women who have been in the industry for 30, 40, sometimes even 50 years. They are fucking experts at what they do, right? They are better than everybody. And the problem we have, because of lots of other factors, is with the push towards college being the only option for kids for the last 20 years. This is why we have this labor shortage, this shortage of people getting in the trades. And in Michigan, anyways, the average age of a construction worker, depending on who you listen to, is somewhere between 56 and 62. Like, that's insanity. And so you get these old dogs who are great at what they do, but they're phasing out. They're going to go and, ride off in the sunset, sail off in the sea, whatever it is they want to do. And if they leave, or when they leave, and if there's not youth right behind them soaking up all that knowledge is gone. It never comes back, and the industry as a whole will suffer because of it. So if there's any message that comes out of today's show for the young guys, young girls listening, it is that. Just bust your ass and listen and soak up as much knowledge as you possibly can. That's how you get ahead in the industry, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, it's also not fair for those old dogs either, right? Because if there's no younger guy willing to hump the pipe up 6 flights of stairs, who's doing it?
You're right.
They're doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And they paid their dues already. It's time for you to pay yours. And they should be using their brains more than their hands right now.
That's right. That's right. Well, Dimitri, we're coming up on time here. I have a question. I was going to say that I ask everybody, but you're the first one. So I have a question that I'm going to ask you and then everyone following you. The show's called Build Better, right? The podcast is Build Better. The foundation's Build Better. It's a tagline I created 7-8 years ago. What started as a marketing slogan, if I'm being honest, and it's kind of grown into a lot more in our neck of the woods. So let me ask you, what does Build Better mean to you? Or if it makes more sense, how are you making strides to make sure that you at Delphi are building better in your industry?
So I think it ties back to what we were just talking about. And it ties into one of our core values is build the future, right? So building better is that knowledge transfer to the right people of the next generation, right? That are going to take what we're building now and build it better than us, right? So how does that happen? Where we are now, need to cultivate the next generation, make opportunities available for them, right? Entice them to come into this industry and show them what it has to offer. And that for me is building better and building the future.
Perfect answer, man. I couldn't agree more. And I can honestly say that is the best answer anyone has ever given me on this show so far. So I appreciate you doing that.
I was the first, so good for me.
Dimitri, anything else you want to tell everybody about yourself, about Delphi? Where can they find you if they want to follow you?
You can get me on LinkedIn, Dimitri Sidiropolous. Website is www.delphiph, like plumbingheating.com. And all our information's on there. Reach out.
Awesome, man. This went really fast, and if you'll consider it, I'd like to have you back on sometime because we didn't even get into the specifics of working in New York City and what that entails. That's still something that's so far outside of my ability to comprehend that it could be a whole show in and of itself.
I'll be glad to tell it.
Awesome. Well, we'll get that set up. And with that, guys, this has been another episode of Build Better. We will catch you all next time.